my friends called him a loser who didn't even know that the child wasn't his. And days later,
I am a 30-year female who is married to a 41-year male. I have a daughter who is 7 years old. Unfortunately, on my 30th birthday, my life turned into a suspenseful and thriller drama which I had not imagined. My husband got to know some earth-shattering facts about our marriage, which led to a drastic turn of events in my life. For my own sanity and security, let me just address my lover and my husband as just that. It is easier that way than to think of made-up names and try to keep up with it. This way, I can avoid any potential slip-ups or confusion in this long rant that I don't want to get carried away with. I can also ensure that my thoughts and feelings are accurately conveyed without any added complications. It also helps me stay focused on the message I want to communicate without distractions. Nicole was my best friend since high school. We had been inseparable since then and had done a lot of idiotic things together. I had called her over since my husband was away and my daughter was having a sleepover at her grandparents' house. Me and Nicole were chilling at home, having drinks and discussing all the shit that we had been through since high school. We recollected all the stupid and crazy things that we had been through all these years. I am not sure if it was the alcohol or the fact that we had a lot of time on our hands to discuss things that we hadn't spoken about in a really long time. We were having a lot of fun as there were things that we both had almost forgotten about. It was a nostalgic trip down memory lane, reminiscing about the good old days and laughing at our past antics. It felt like a much-needed break from our busy lives, allowing us to reconnect and bond over shared experiences. Nicole told me how I had frantically called her when I got to know about my pregnancy with a doubt that it might not be my husband's, which later turned out to be true. My husband had no idea that I cheated on him and got pregnant. My bestie, Nicole, was the only one who knew about my affair and my pregnancy, as she always covered for me every time I was with my lover. Nicole was my rock throughout the entire ordeal, offering me emotional support and guidance when I needed it most. I knew I could always count on her to keep my secrets safe and provide a listening ear during my moments of uncertainty. My husband had planned a big, extensive surprise for my 30th birthday, and I was super excited for it. I had overheard him saying that he wanted it to be of enormous shock value. It was very difficult for me to put up a straight face throughout the week, knowing that I would probably be getting a huge surprise that I had been looking forward to. I started dropping hints of what I would want as a gift so that everything falls into perfect place. The big day finally arrived, and I was super hyped. It started with bed coffee that my husband had prepared for me. It was delicious, and moreover, I loved the way he took an extra effort to decorate and make it look more romantic. I could already see the level of effort he had put into making this the most special day of my life. As I sipped on the coffee, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with gratitude for having such a thoughtful partner. The day was off to a perfect start, setting the tone for what was sure to be an unforgettable celebration. I made a mental note that I should demand something on the similar lines from my boyfriend when I meet him next week to celebrate my birthday. The evening arrived and I was sent a note asking me to go to a private designer to get dressed for the event. This was something that I wasn't expecting at all. I got there and was pampered like a queen, making sure that I was dressed for the occasion. The designer had picked out a stunning gown that fit me perfectly, and I felt like royalty as I stepped out for the evening event. The attention to detail and care taken in preparing me for the occasion made me feel truly special and grateful for the experience. I was asked to wait for more notes with instructions to enjoy the night to the fullest. I couldn't help thinking what more could possibly top this up. I was finally sent a note telling me that a car was waiting to take me to my destination. It was a limo with champagne and snacks to accompany it. I was more than pleased with my husband to take all this effort into making my birthday into a royal event. I went in and was amazed at the decor and the arrangements. It looked like a wedding and not just a birthday party. I could see close friends and family and also a few work colleagues that had made it to the party. I saw my husband on the stage announcing my entrance. Everyone had their eyes on me, and I could see that they were blown away by my look. I saw Nicole up front, who gave me a reassuring look that translated into me looking super hot. I walked onto the stage as instructed and was seated at the center. There was a presentation with a trip down memory lane about how we met, got into a relationship, snippets of our marriage, and then my journey through pregnancy and finally giving birth. It continued with our first days with our daughter, and I was already teary-eyed looking at the amount of effort that my husband had put into making sure that this could be the most memorable day of my life. I couldn't control myself, so I ran up to him and embraced him into my arms. He said that there was more to come and that I should save my emotions for later. I couldn't even imagine what more he could possibly have planned to top this. Nevertheless, I knew that it would be something overwhelming. I kissed my daughter, who was also a part of the planning with my husband, and took my seat as requested by my husband. I was blindfolded and asked to sit on the stage where everyone could see me. I was waiting for something to happen. I could feel something near my lips, and I thought that he was just trying to kiss me, so I kissed him back. My blindfold was pulled out, and I saw my lover, the father of my daughter, in front of me, kissing me passionately. My husband was standing in the corner and just chilling, witnessing everything as if he knew. He started announcing that he would like to properly introduce the person kissing his wife to everyone who looked confused. He said to give a big applause for the guy who was the father of his wife's daughter. He was the one who had given her the joy of being a mother. My face dropped and turned pale. I realized at that moment that my secret affair had been exposed, and the consequences of my actions were about to unfold in front of everyone. The room fell silent as the truth sank in, and I knew that my life would never be the same again. I could not utter a single word from my mouth as I was too shocked to speak. All eyes were on me, and I knew at that moment that all this build-up from the past week was just to humiliate me in front of all the people I've known through my life. My heart was pounding in my chest as I tried to gather my thoughts and find a way to respond. The weight of the situation felt suffocating, and I could feel the heat rising to my cheeks as I searched for a way out. My husband then said that he was so naive and blinded by trust that he never once thought that his wife would cheat on him. The day when I had Nicole over, he came home early to surprise me, but we were so engrossed in our conversation that we hadn't realized that my husband had sneaked in that day and heard my entire conversation with Nicole. I had no idea about it, and once he revealed that he knew the truth about my cheating behavior and my friend helping me out all the time, that is when he decided that he needed to teach me a lesson. I had not seen it coming at all. I tried to look for Nicole in the crowd, but I was unable to locate her as my eyes were blurry due to the tears rolling down. I saw my daughter sobbing and holding my husband close to her, as if asking him to protect her from me. I felt a sudden disgust towards myself at that moment. I realized that my actions had caused pain to those I loved the most. The weight of my mistakes hit me like a ton of bricks, and I knew I needed to make things right. My husband then went ahead and told me that I was such a shameless mother that I had cut a deal with my lover to continue the affair if he had nothing to do with our daughter. I was willing to sacrifice my own daughter for my happiness and continue lying and cheating to my husband about our daughter. I was shocked and hurt by his accusations, as they were completely true. I did not want to leave my boyfriend and even agreed to lie to my husband about it being his child, just to continue my affair. I could see the disgusted look on everyone's face and the judgment in their eyes. My family was shattered and devastated by the revelations. I knew that it would be very difficult for me to try and make them understand everything. I knew that I had nothing to say in my defense, as my husband had never been bad to me. Apart from the fact that I needed sexual pleasure, I did not have any issues in my married life. He adored my daughter as his own, and not once did he ever doubt him not being the father. I was filled with guilt and shame for betraying their trust, but I also knew that I had to be honest about my needs and desires. It was a difficult conversation to have, but I hoped that with time, they would come to understand and forgive me. The party ended and everyone started leaving. My husband told me that I could leave with my boyfriend, as there was no place for such a selfish person in his house. He wanted to keep me away from our daughter, as he didn't want me to take advantage of her anymore. I was just sitting on the chair, still processing everything that had happened. I couldn't believe that a small trip down memory lane would lead to such a disastrous turn of events and my life would turn upside down. After a really long time, I looked around and couldn't find anyone. I tried calling Nicole and my lover, who were both ignoring my calls. I made my way to a nearby motel and stayed the night over. The next morning, I tried reaching my lover, who finally picked up after 2 hours of trying to reach him. He told me that I had caused him such inconvenience, and the only reason he continued to have this affair was because the fact that we had a daughter would remain a secret forever. Now that it was out in the open, he wanted nothing to do with me and cut all ties immediately. I tried calling Nicole, as I knew that she would be the one person who would understand me. She kept declining my calls, which made me question our friendship. She was the only one who knew the truth about my pregnancy and my daughter's real father. She sent me a text saying that it would be difficult for her to help me right now, as her husband had started having trust issues. Once things are a bit under control, she would definitely get in touch with me. At this moment, I understood that I was left completely alone to deal with the mess that I had created in my own life. I realized that no one else could fix the situation for me, and that I needed to take responsibility for my actions and make things right on my own. It was a sobering realization, but also a necessary one for me to grow and learn from my mistakes. So here I am writing this post to feel a bit better and get some clarity in life. Maybe doing this will help me think of everything that went wrong and make good decisions going forward. I would request people reading this post not to judge me and give any constructive advice if possible about how I should deal with this situation. Update. Since many people wanted to know how things worked out, here's a short update of the events that followed. I was devastated as I couldn't sleep for nights, as every time I closed my eyes, I could clearly see the disgust that my daughter had in her eyes for me. I would go to her school and wait every day so that I could get a glance of her and try to talk to her. She would always avoid me and walk past as if I were a stranger. I felt like a complete failure as a parent, unable to mend the broken relationship with my own child. The pain of rejection was unbearable, but I knew I had to keep trying to make things right. I had an idea that maybe making up with my husband would help me reconcile my relationship with my daughter. I might not have been a very good wife, but I truly loved my daughter and couldn't stand her indifference towards me. I knew that the longer I waited, the more distant she would get from me. I decided to take the first step and reach out to my husband to start mending our relationship. I hoped that by showing my daughter that I was capable of making amends, she would see me in a different light and be willing to reconnect with me. I made my way to the house where my husband had moved in with our daughter. My mother-in-law was helping him take care of our daughter since she was too young and still needed someone to look after her. I knew that having a conversation in front of her would be futile, as she never liked me from the very beginning. I texted my husband that I needed to discuss a few things regarding our daughter and that I would be waiting in a nearby cafe for him. I knew that this could be the only way I could convince him to meet me. After about 30 minutes, he showed up. I ordered his favorite coffee and asked him to take a seat. He looked disinterested and asked me to get to the point. I started by asking him if our daughter was okay and if she was doing okay at school. He told me that he was taking care of it and I should stick to what I had come to say. I took a deep breath and started my pitch of starting over. I told him that our daughter was too young for her to go through all of this unnecessary stress. Maybe we could work something out and make a fresh start as a family. I emphasized the importance of our daughter's well-being and how it was crucial for us to put aside our differences for her sake. I suggested seeking counseling or mediation to find a solution that would benefit all of us. He started laughing after listening to my 10-minute-long monologue. He said that he already knew that I never cared about this marriage or this relationship, so I should stop trying to fool him anymore. He asked me to quit the act of wanting to be a wife and a mother and start over. He told me that my ego was actually hurt seeing how my own daughter wanted nothing to do with me. He suggested that I seek help to work through my issues and become a better person. His words cut deep, making me realize the impact of my actions on those around me. He told me that he now knows me in and out and has every reason not to trust me even for a second. There was no way that he could keep his daughter away from him. This had made me lose all my cool, and I reminded him that she was not biologically his daughter and that there was no way that he could keep me, his biological mother, away from her. He told me that he would fight with all his might to make sure that I stayed away from her. Saying this, he left in a very angry mood, and I was pissed at the way he spoke to me. Just like that, I don't know how my effort to go and reconcile turned out into an ego challenge where we both were adamant on seeing who gets to keep our daughter. It was a heartbreaking situation that escalated quickly, leaving us both feeling hurt and misunderstood. Despite our differences, I still hoped that we could find a way to prioritize our daughter's well-being above all else. I was sent a court notice for divorce, which I was expecting. Along with it, I also received a custody trial paper for my daughter. I somehow knew that I would not be winning the divorce case to reconcile. I at least wanted to win custody of my daughter and show my husband that no matter how hard he tried, I was still her biological mother. As expected, I lost the divorce case with zero alimony due to my infidelity. I was kind of prepared for this outcome, so it did not shock me so much. The court trial started for custody. It was a messy affair. There were allegations flying around about me hiding the fact that I was aware right from my pregnancy that this baby did not belong to my husband, and I still continued to fool him all these years. Emotions ran high as the truth came out in court, with both sides presenting evidence to support their claims. The judge's decision would ultimately determine the future of the child caught in the middle of this tumultuous situation. My husband had submitted proof that I was an irresponsible mother who left her daughter regularly at her grandparents' place to meet with her lover. There was no reason for me to get custody, as my husband was still taking care of my daughter's expenses and livelihood, even after knowing that she was not his daughter. This shows that he is a responsible parent, and also the kid is more comfortable staying with him. I had no source of income or a decent place to live with a child, so I could not be entrusted with a child. What if I run away with my lover, leaving my daughter alone at home? I did not have anything to counter it, apart from the fact that I loved my daughter and she was biologically mine. At the end of the trial, I was devastated as the judge and jury deemed me unfit to take care of my own daughter. The verdict was that love alone is not always enough to provide a stable and secure environment for a child. It is important to consider the well-being and best interests of the child above all else. Seeking legal advice and discussing custody arrangements may be necessary in this situation. My lover, who was the biological father, had disagreed with taking care of me and my daughter, as I had never asked him to take charge of being the father. There was a recording that he played where I was boasting about how I fooled my husband, and he would never have to worry about taking care of my daughter as long as my husband stays in the dark. That was the only reason he had continued to have an affair with me, as he never wanted to be a father. I knew that this would paint a very negative picture against me, showing that I never cared about my daughter's well-being even before she was born. It exactly played out the way that I did not want to. I was broken after the trial. I had no one I could share my feelings with. My lover had left me stating that I had suddenly become too clingy and too needy. He wanted no strings attached, and now I was dragging him into my own mess, wanting him to be the father that he never wanted to be. He wanted nothing to do with all of this mess and asked me to stay away from him. I felt lost and abandoned, with no one to turn to for comfort or support. The pain of rejection was overwhelming, and I struggled to find a way to heal from the heartbreak. I tried reaching out to Nicole for some comfort, but she started ignoring me. She later sent me a text stating that her husband had warned her to stay away from me as I was in trouble. They had been having trust issues ever since my affair was brought into light. She told me that she was very sorry for not being there for me, but she had no other choice if she wanted to save her own relationship. I was hurt by her response, but I understood that she needed to prioritize her marriage. It was a difficult situation for both of us, but I respected her decision to focus on repairing her relationship with her husband. I did not want to cause problems in anyone else's life anymore. Right now, all I feel is lonely, guilty, and depressed with my life. I constantly find myself questioning my decisions and feeling overwhelmed by the weight of my emotions. It's hard to see a way out of this darkness, but I know I need to find a way to heal and move forward. I have to try and be strong and try to make amends with my daughter, so that slowly but surely I strengthen my relationship with my daughter. I need to seek help and support from loved ones or a therapist to work through these feelings and find healthier coping mechanisms. Taking small steps towards self-care and forgiveness can help me gradually rebuild my sense of self-worth and connection with others. Thank you everyone for being a part of my journey so far. I know I am to blame for my downfall, and I am aware of all the consequences for my actions. I do not want any more hate or suggestions telling me that I deserve all of it. I am taking responsibility for my mistakes and working towards making things right. Your support and understanding mean the world to me as I strive to grow and learn from this experience. Marriage is difficult. It isn't all happy and fun. Let me tell my story. I loved my husband, I truly did. As kids, we were neighbors. We grew up together. He was my crush, and hey, I married my crush. We were best friends before getting together and starting a relationship. Me and my husband got in a relationship when we both were 18. After 9 years of being together, he proposed, and we got married when we were 27. I was working as an investigative journalist, and his job was accounting manager at a prestigious company. We have been married for almost 6 years now. It was all good until we both started neglecting each other because of work occupations. We hardly saw each other, always working. I swear I was going out more with colleagues than my own husband, and he didn't mind it. Or he did, but he never said anything. I still loved him, and I guess I will always love him somehow, because he has been with me forever. I want to see him grow and always progressing in his life. But let's get back to the story. At the job I was working at, as I said, I used to go out really often with colleagues. Without even knowing, I was flirting with this one good-looking guy. He was tall, with black hair and blue eyes. Forgive me, but I could get lost in those eyes. And oh, his smile. It was what made me fall for him. It was like I was a teenager and felt like I was walking in the air. It wasn't right, but I couldn't help it. The way he gave me attention, his attention to details. I used to go in the office and find little notes like, "Want to look into your eyes a little longer today? Coffee after work?" Those coffees became a routine. After work was my favorite time of the day. After a month, we went out for dinner and drinks in a classy place. He was wearing a blue suit, which matched his eyes, and oh my God, I forgot I had a husband. I want this guy, I thought to myself. Also, I was wearing a black long hot dress and red lipstick. My blonde long hair looked like magic, and I am not even exaggerating. I love my blonde hair, and this time they didn't let me down. So at the time, I refused to call it a date, but that's what it was. Oh, I forgot to tell you, he even got me flowers, red roses, my favorites. We went to this place which looked over the city. It was a summer night, one of those long nights that I would never want to finish. I was experiencing feelings I had never experienced with my husband. The dinner was amazing. The red wine was perfect. We talked a lot, looking each other in the eyes. He was 32 years old and lived alone. He was also a journalist, a good one. He told me his mother and father lived in another city. He also talked about the most traumatic episode of his life. He, or let me refer to him as Oliver, lost a brother at 29 years old. Oliver's brother died from cancer. He got lymphoma and could not make it. We found ourselves crying. To lose someone you love can be really heartbreaking. I can't even imagine losing my sister. I could not put myself in his shoes. At that moment, I wanted to hug him so hard and just let him cry in my arms. We had this strong connection. Regarding my life, I talked to him about my family, how they always supported me, but how they also used to be pushy. I used to take most of the decisions because I wanted to make them proud and happy. At some point, I forgot I had to make myself happy. I was so lost in the conversation that I told him that he reminded me of what happiness was. His blue eyes smiled, and for a moment I came back to reality and told him that I was lying to my husband about going out with him. He was not okay with lying, and he was not okay with what we were doing, but we could not help it. It was stronger than us. That same night we danced, and while dancing he kissed me. I kissed him back. Going home, I was feeling like a teenager and smiling to myself. My husband was already home. He just asked how the night with the girls was, and that's it. I wasn't sure what to do, but this man didn't deserve to be cheated and betrayed. I could not tell the truth, though. The dates with Oliver became frequent, so I continued to lie to my husband. I cheated on him. While home, the situation was not good anymore. For my husband, I felt like he was my friend, but no more passion or love. How could I say this? I would let everyone down. Once again, I put others first. On the other hand, Oliver was pushing me to talk to my husband because he could not be the third person anymore. He wanted us to go outside freely and show our love to the world. And I was afraid. I was never a brave person. But this time I had to be. I had to put myself first, even though it meant hurting other people's feelings, even though I found it hard. Dates with Oliver continued to go on. At work, we were still together. As investigative journalists, we used to go out for work together also. We never lost a chance to be together, while my husband was also working hard. Our night together became just hi and good night. We had become strangers sharing the same house, yet we used to talk about how our day was, about work, about everything. We used to go to family events together. I can remember when it was my mother's birthday. We were at my parents' house. I do not know how, but my mom understood something was wrong, maybe mother's instinct. But she asked me if everything between us was okay. She said we were very distant and not like before. If anyone is wondering how we were before, I will tell you. We spent most of the time together. Hey, we grew up together. We knew every part of each other. And we never lost a chance to take adventures together. We both like mountains more than beaches, but we both loved the sunset or sunrise in the sea. We used to wake up at 5 a.m. just to go near the sea and watch the sunrise. We climbed mountains, slept outside, watched the stars, and danced in the rain. He was my person. He was my go-to person in every situation. This is all I was thinking while talking to my mother, and I turned my eyes to my husband. He smiled at me and came near us. I was thinking how easy, just a look, and he would come to me right away. "What are you two beautiful ladies talking about?" he said and smiled. "Nothing," I replied. "Just telling my mom how amazing you are." He smiled and kissed my cheek, and I was surprised how little it took for us to connect again. At that moment, I felt so confused. I didn't know what I felt about Oliver, about my husband. Was Oliver just the support I needed when my marriage was going through a difficult period? Did I love him? Did I love my husband? Oh my God, guys. I don't know how to tell you how confusing everything was, but that night I decided to stop thinking and just enjoy the moment with my family and my husband. It was a great night. It warmed my heart to see my family together and happy celebrating Mom's birthday. After dinner, we took our car and drove back home. I opened the window and felt the summer breeze, while the music was loud and I loved it. It was playing our song, Because You Loved Me by Celine Dion. He held my hand and we both started singing. What a night. When we got home, we felt no more strangers. It was the most passionate night in such a long time. As soon as we got in, he took me in his arms and whispered, "I missed you, baby." He kissed every inch of my body, and at that moment I knew there was no one like him on this earth for me. He took me to our bedroom and we made love like no other time. The passion was magical. I get butterflies even remembering that night. And I knew, guys, it was not only about sex, it was about love. Love made the sex amazing. I had forgotten how it felt like to be with him, and for sure it was not only his fault. We let the monotony take us over, we put our jobs first, and then tried to find an escape from the situation. The day after was Saturday, so we did not have to work. I woke up and went downstairs. Guess what I saw? My husband was cooking breakfast for both of us. I stopped for a moment and enjoyed the view. I could not be happy though. Oliver existed. We were having an affair. Stupid me. For not trying to fix the things but finding an escape from reality. As marriage was so easy. On the first test, I failed. At that moment, I was telling myself, hey, welcome back to reality. My husband took me out of my thoughts, telling me he cooked breakfast for us and had planned a great day ahead. We were back to our adventures. At that moment, I decided not to think about what I was going to do with Oliver or how I would fix the situation, how I would tell my husband the truth, because if I did, I knew I was going to lose him. It was all messy. Before I started eating, I checked my phone and found hundreds of texts and missed calls from Oliver. Hey, how are you? I missed you. Can we talk? Can you escape your husband tomorrow? I need to see you. I need to be with you, please. Why don't you answer? And so on. I was in panic. I turned my phone off and got back to my husband. We ate breakfast together and had our morning coffee. Strange how little it took for us to be the same. We were all the same all along, but now I was so close to losing him and also hurting someone else's feelings. I had no right to do so. I was so surprised by the person I had become. What was I supposed to do? Well, first off, I'll enjoy the day ahead. We were going on a road trip in a mountain near us and spent the weekend there. We both loved nature. After this weekend, I needed to tell the truth to him, and I needed to see Oliver, see how I would feel, and be honest with him too. After eating breakfast, we prepared our bags and hit the road. Like in our old times, he was responsible for driving and getting us to our destination safely, and I was responsible for the music we would listen to. I loved road trips, and on that moment even more because I have missed traveling with him. While driving, he started talking about how work has been taking us to different paths. Each of us has built our own career, and it has been difficult to keep things the same. But he told me even though we were going through difficult times, he never stopped loving me. There is nothing in this world I would not do for you. Just please help me. Help us to put our small family before everything, even our career. Because I love you, and I never want to lose you. That would mean losing myself. Those words touched my heart deeply, and without even knowing, I was crying and trying to spell out the words. I love you. Guys, we haven't said those words in a long time. What made me think he did not love me anymore? Have you ever heard about conversations that are done on a long drive? I was fully enjoying this road trip with him. He made everything better once again, with his words and his kindness. But guys, little did he know that his lovely wife cheated on him with her colleague, that the nights I told him I was out with my friends, I was actually with my lover, that I gave myself to him in a complete way. It was very difficult for me to look this guy in the eyes while singing, driving, and holding my hand because I betrayed his trust, and I was about to break his heart. While on a road, he got the chance to prove that us should and would come before every other thing. This happened when he got a phone call from work. They asked him to go in because there was an urgency and they needed him. But guess what? He refused and told them that he was on vacation with his wife. While he was on the phone, I was wondering, why didn't we do this before? Why didn't we talk to each other to make things work? I kept blaming myself for everything I was going through because, hey guys, he was there all along, but I have chosen to watch some days Elsa's eyes instead of my husband's. I felt so bad and disgusted with myself, and I know you all may be thinking of what a horrible person I am. You are right. The place we were going was 2 hours away, but we didn't get bored from the road, as time flew while talking about everything. We remembered the old times when we got in a relationship and laughed so hard. As I told you all before, we grew up together and went to the same school. Before being in a relationship, we were best friends, but we knew at that time that we felt something more about each other, but we both were afraid to admit it. We used to go to school together, and one day I found him on the road holding a red rose in his hand. He was so shy, and the words came out of his mouth without any order, guys that were so funny and so romantic at the same time. I can't remember what he exactly said. The only thing I remember is that he came near me and gave me a kiss on my lips. A short one. I used to call it the stolen kiss. He never asked me to be his girlfriend, but I knew I was. He just kept doing romantic things all along. Like in the movies, he climbed into my window at night just to stay with me and let me tell you about our first night. I mean the night when we first made love, because it happened exactly one of those nights when he climbed into my room, which was on the second floor. Well, we were staying together and watching a movie. The movie was a little with hot scenes, but not excessive. However, that made both of us feel shy because we were young. We were 18. When the movie ended, we started kissing, a thing that we did every day. But this time the passion was there, bigger than ever. We felt it in our heart. We wanted it to happen, and yes, it happened. I'm sure all of you want to know how it felt and how it was. I have heard about the first time being a little painful, and it was a little, but just a little. Then I enjoyed having him mine so much. After that night, he would climb and get in through that window every other night, and I am not shy to admit that I loved making love with him. The pleasure cannot be described. He took me to the sky and then back in. It was amazing. I am sure you are now all thinking what a horrible person I am, but the situation came that way. For sure, I made the greatest mistake of my life, but my husband had his faults too. Don't you think he should have communicated to me instead of just building the great career he has now? I always wanted him to succeed in life, but I wanted to be part of his success, and along the way, he forgot I was there too. I know it does not justify what I did. I can remember some days he would be gone almost all night because of work, and other nights when he came home and got locked in his studio to work again. I was left alone and I needed a refugee. Of course, I'm not proud of what I did, but hey, I am a human being. I got feelings. I needed support and to be seen, but he didn't see me nor my begging to be seen or to be loved. Because I did beg him for love when this situation was created. More than a year into our marriage, I used to beg him to stay with me, watch a movie together, or go out for a drink. But he was always busy, always asking for more time. Isn't it begging for love? Well, let me tell you something. No woman deserves to beg someone for love. What I did was run into someone else's arms because that someone made me feel seen, made me feel loved and important. Those kinds of things my husband forgot about. Now he wanted things to be as before, and he was finding time for me and for us. But little did he know that was a little too late. I regret cheating on him and not being honest, but I want everyone to see that I am not the black sheep of the story. I have my faults, of course, but I am just a woman. I am not proud of what I did, but I won't deny the emotions that Oliver made me feel. For sure you must be thinking, really again, Oliver? Guy. I don't know if what I felt for Oliver was love or not, but he supported me in everything without even asking for anything in return. I was succeeding in my job because of his support, and because he made me feel I was enough and worth it. Again, I am not proud of my decision. I did not only cheat on him or have a one-night stand, but I created a relationship with someone. I also thought I was in love with that someone. I now think I need therapy. I know you may be laughing at this last sentence, but I am serious. We arrived at our destination at 11 o'clock and got to our room, which was really amazing. With a breathtaking view in front of a lake between the mountains and a big pool, I could not wait to get in. But my husband instead could not wait to touch me and make love with me. Actually, I have felt the sexual tension all along the road. Now it exploded. He started kissing me passionately in every part of my body. I wanted him so badly too, but I was disgusted with myself. However, I let myself go with the flow, and I enjoyed that moment so much. After this special moment, we decided to go to the pool. I told him to go before, and I would reach him in a moment. You can guess why I needed a moment alone. I wanted to call Oliver because I have been getting so many messages from him since last night. I called Oliver. He was worried, and he immediately started asking questions like, "Where are you? While I am here waiting for you, you went on a vacation with your husband? You were supposed to talk to him about divorce and us, not about vacations?" Yeah. He was right in everything he asked. I just told him things got a turn and I needed to go with him. And also I asked him politely not to call me or message me until Monday. I would meet him at work. Oliver got frustrated and jealous. He was right to feel that way. I had promised him I would talk to my husband about us, and I would divorce him to be with Oliver. However, I ended the call and went to meet my husband at the pool. No matter how amazing the place was, no matter how my husband was making me feel loved, my mind was a mess. I couldn't wait for this situation to be over. I could not enjoy this weekend to the fullest, since I was not being honest to my husband. I also knew that when I would tell him the truth, our marriage would end. And honestly, I really just wanted to be done with all those things and be okay with myself. But I still lacked the courage. My husband was swimming in the pool, and I joined him with no words. He noticed I was worried and asked me if something happened. I told him no, nothing has happened. I was okay, but I just had a call from work about a situation there because some of my colleagues went to work today. He asked me to forget about work and just feel nature and him. I wanted to do that, but it wasn't that easy. I was trying to, though. Swimming helped me calm down and forget a little about everything that was happening in my life. The weekend went by so fast. I have to admit we had a really good time together, made a lot of love, and ate a lot of good food. Sunday afternoon was the time to go back to our reality, and time to see if my husband would be the same or would go back to his old self and forget about my existence again. It was also time to go to work, meet Oliver, and work, because there were also so many things to investigate. Our society had problems, many of them. The way back was calm because both of us were tired. We barely talked, but he held my hand almost all the way back home, and I could notice how he looked at me when I was not watching. There was love in those eyes, the love I was sure I was about to lose, but no matter what I wanted to get out of this, I wanted to be honest with him and with Oliver. But most of all, I wanted to be honest with me. We went back home, and I don't know why, but I was feeling anxious about tomorrow at work and about how my husband would behave when he got back to work. Actually, it didn't really matter anymore, because things between us were going to end soon. Something else surprised me that night. Life is so unpredictable, guys. While me and my husband were eating dinner together, he asked me if we could talk about something very serious. Hundreds of things came to my mind, but I never guessed he would ask me to have a baby. I love kids, and I would love to have a baby with him, but I was sure he would change his mind after he discovers the truth. I told him I wanted a baby so badly, but I asked him to think a little more about it because having a baby was no joke. He promised he would, but however he said he was sure he wanted our family to grow and wanted to see the little babies walking around filling the house with joy and happiness. My husband could imagine the baby. He wanted a baby girl that looked like me. While talking, his eyes were shining. To be honest, I wanted to have a baby, but now in this situation, things were not easy anymore. We ended that night this way. We again made love and went to sleep hugging each other tightly. The next day, he was still the same kind and caring. He had again prepared breakfast, since I am the one that finds it very hard to get up in the morning. So, while I was getting ready, he prepared everything, and we had breakfast together and our morning coffee, and we went to work. When I got to work, Oliver was waiting for me at the entrance. I wasn't surprised. He seemed angry, actually very angry. He headed towards once he saw me. He didn't care we were in public. He just started screaming to me about what I was thinking and what games I was playing. I tried to calm him down so we could talk in another place, a private one. So we went to his office. I told him that I needed to think about what we were doing, and the situation between me and my husband got a small turn because our families, this wasn't true, but anyways, I had to say something. He asked me if I was going to continue this false marriage, and I told him that for the moment, yes. Again, I was not being honest to Oliver. He came near me and suddenly he hugged me. His heart was beating so fast and I felt so bad. He loved me. I tried to escape his hug, and I asked him for some time to think about what I needed. I looked him straight into his blue eyes, and I could see how his heart was breaking, but I could not change anything about it. I had to take control of my life and be honest, starting with myself. He said he would tell me everything to my husband, and I was no one to play those kinds of games with people. Meanwhile, he went out and let me in his office, wondering how I could solve the situation. My husband was working, and I was feeling so afraid that Oliver could go to his workplace and tell him everything. I was so anxious and I could not concentrate on work, so I called my husband to ask where he was, because I wanted to meet him. I told him I was not feeling very well and I needed to see him. He asked me if something at work had happened, and I lied, and I said yes. I told him I was having some problems with my boss at work, so I needed some time with him, because he was the only one who could calm the storm in my soul. So yeah, I went to his workplace, and we had a coffee near there. He hugged me tightly and asked what was happening, and again I was constricted to lie. I told him my boss wanted me to work on Saturdays, and I didn't want our jobs to get in the middle of us anymore. He told me he was so proud of me, and guys, I felt so ashamed of myself, and so sorry. I wish he could really feel proud of me, and I wish I had not done those things that I did. But life takes those dark paths sometimes, and the end of my path for sure would not be a beautiful one. I hugged him back so tightly, and I told him I loved him no matter what, which was true because I really loved him. I still do, but I will never have him back, and I have to accept it and go on. His job was going great, and I didn't doubt it because he was an excellent person and very capable of what he did. We stayed a little more, but I could not stay there forever and prevent my husband from talking to Oliver, nor could I change his phone number, which I was sure that Oliver could easily find. So I decided to go home and prepare a romantic dinner for my husband. You know, during those days we were having sex every night, and each night was more special than the night before, because we were more passionate than before, and I will never forget those nights, guys. That night was going to be a special one. I prepared a beautiful table with roses and candles on it. When he came home, I was so surprised and looked so happy. I was happy I could make him smile, but I knew I was going to be the one who would take his smile away. However, I was still hoping he would not find out about me and Oliver. Even if I was conscious, I had to tell him the truth and just wait for his reaction because this thing had gone way too far. Let me come back and tell you a little more about our romantic night so you can all see how much love we had and how I did not appreciate it enough to be mature and solve the problems between us. We had dinner, and after that I got him by his hands and started kissing him. He grabbed me in his arms and took me to our bedroom, which was also full of small red candles and rose petals. He was really surprised and happy. We made love under the candlelight, and let me tell you that it was a night to remember. When I woke up in the morning, I could not help but think about Oliver, and if he was going to tell anything to my husband. I got up and got ready for work. Actually, I could not wait to speak to Oliver and convince him not to talk to my husband. My husband was downstairs waiting for me with our breakfast ready. He had made a habit out of it, but I would enjoy those mornings so much. However, I could not wait to get to work. When I went to work, I went to Oliver's office, and I asked him if we could talk. He said we had nothing to talk about, but he would give me 5 days to tell my husband the truth. If not, he would tell him in my place, and after that, he asked me to leave his office. Guys, I had never seen Oliver this serious. He didn't even look me in the eyes, but continued working while saying those words to me. I had no choice but to go out and return to my office. Still, I could not work thinking and thinking to find a choice. Nothing came into my mind. I had come to an end, and the only option that I had was to tell my husband the truth and accept the truth, no matter how much it would hurt. While I was working, I got a message from my husband. "I want to take my beautiful wife out on a date tonight, can I?" My response was, "Your beautiful wife would be honored to." I wanted to enjoy this last date, and tomorrow I would tell him, so we went out on a dinner date. He took me to a small but very romantic restaurant. The food was amazing, and from the window I could see the full moon, which was amazing. I have not told you guys, but I am a very sunsets, sunrises, and moon person. I enjoyed the date, and I loved my husband. While we were driving back home, my husband asked for my phone just to check on his email because he was waiting for an important email and his phone had died. I was not thinking about Oliver at that moment, but as soon as the phone was in my husband's hands, a sound message rang. I was shocked when I saw the message from Oliver. "Hey, baby girl, did you tell your husband about our affair yet?" He was so shocked also, and we were about to have an accident, but did not. He stopped the car and started screaming at me to get out of his car. Not even another word, just get out of my car and never want to see your face again. I went out, and in the middle of that shock, I sat for some moments by the road to calm myself, but I could not. I was so hurt, but it was me who hurt everyone, including myself. After around 10 minutes, I walked around and found the nearest hotel around me because I could go nowhere else. Went to the hotel room and started crying. I know you may be thinking I deserved it, and I know I did, but oh, what a heartache it was. I was feeling so lost, but there was no point in searching for the fault anymore. We had come to an end. After crying all night, I took the bus and went back home. Before getting a chance to get in, I found my clothes outside and the key of my car also. I was not left with any choices, so I took everything and drove away to my parents' place. He left me with no communication, and he had the right to do so. After some days, I got the divorce papers, and that was it. I lost him. I had never thought that I could do the things that I did, but it went how it went. I can't take back time. I just need to forgive myself and keep going. If you are all wondering what happened to Oliver, did we break up? Did he disturb me? After around a week, I went back to my job to meet my boss and let him know I could not work there anymore for personal reasons. I could see Oliver around there, but I did not even look in his eyes. I didn't hate him. I hated myself for what I did, because I was the one who betrayed her husband. I am now looking for a new job and also trying to forgive myself for everything I did. I am trying to be a better person. I will admit sometimes it is hard and I am very harsh on myself, but I am taking it day by day. I am also seeing a psychologist. I appreciate everyone from my family for accepting me and forgiving me for what I have done, because they haven't raised to be a cheater. They raised a kind and honest girl who somewhere along the way got lost, but now I was found, and I would try and build a better future, a future with no lies in it. But at this moment, I am also in a divorce process, and that is not easy. I know you all will judge me, but just remember we are all human beings and no one is perfect. Sometimes life takes us to paths we never thought about and are unable to control it. Things happen, but as long as we live, nothing can't be fixed. So here I am, ready to read judging comments, but also hoping for some understanding and kindness from all of you. This is the end of my story, guys. I hope some of you will leave some kind words for me. Before judging, I have no doubts. Spread kindness, guys. The world needs it the most. Goodbye for now.